Is this one? This one's working. All right. So many of us were in the sukkah just now. Many of us were here for dinner. And so we got to raise your hand if you met somebody new out there. If you sat with somebody that you didn't really know so well. Look at that. Some people. One of the goals of Sukkot is to meet people new. One of the goals of Sukkot is what's called ushpizin, which is an Aramaic word. It comes through to the English as the word hospitality. But ushpizin is the idea of inviting people into your sukkah. And so how beautiful that we have a sukkah that somehow fits about 200-something people. We got to sit with people, some who we knew and some who we didn't know, so we could be hospitable to other people, and they could be, hopefully, hospitable to us. We get to meet new people and make new friends. We also, one of the questions we think about over the course of Sukkot is, if you could invite anybody into your sukkah, we don't have to ask that question right now, but just to pose it, to think about, if you could invite anybody into your sukkah, anybody at all, who would it be? Noting that it would be Benny, of course, it would be Benny. He'd bring music, he would bring vodka infused with last year's etrog, he would bring a smile. If you could bring somebody into your sukkah, who would it be? And maybe it's somebody who you know well, maybe it's somebody who you haven't seen in a while, but the rabbis who posed that question originally had the answer of, it should be one of the people from the Bible. If you can invite somebody from the Bible into your sukkah, this isn't just inviting somebody who you loved and you lost, or somebody a friend of yours from when you were a kid, or some celebrity. I'd invite the coolest celebrity with the most Instagram followers to post my sukkah online. Who would you invite? What would it mean to have, with no language barrier, to have King David sitting in your sukkah?
Wow.
To have Joseph in his coat, obviously, in your sukkah. What was that, Marco? What was that? Well, what would it mean to have Moses in your sukkah?
Moses.
What would it mean to have Sarah, who laughed in God's face, sit in your sukkah?
Really?
What would it mean to have some of these people, Yael, who had no fear, Devorah, Ruth, Naomi, just these incredible people. What would it mean to have them in your sukkah? If you have Esther in your sukkah, would you have Esther as the young orphan who had nobody, or Esther as the queen who bravely saved her people? Which part of them would you have in, and what would that mean? What would your conversation be? So we'll come back next week so you can answer that question, but right now we just pose that question. And later, maybe later tonight, if you want to give an answer, you can. We'll turn now to page 27 in our Siddur. Page 27 is the Psalm for Shabbat, the special psalm we've been saying on Shabbat for somewhere around 3,000 years. Tov lahodot. It's good to be here and to say words of gratitude to God.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינם. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
It's been a while since I posed this question to you, because last week was, and the week before was, and the week before was, but I turn to you now and ask if you can share, what was the highlight of your week? What was something good that happened to you in the last week? And I'll expand it to a couple of weeks if you want to go further. I know some of you had a really tough last week or two, and so it's hard to find something good. And some of you had such an amazing last week or two. Trying to find the one thing is difficult. But yeah, Judy. It's amazing. I worry about, for myself and for everybody, this epidemic of loneliness. The idea of the fact that there's isolation going on in the world, and Judy has found Miriam and Ezra, who just moved here from New York. For those of you who haven't met them, they're wonderful people. Ezra was the falafel king of the Upper West Side. He had a great falafel restaurant up there, and now that they live out here, and they knew very few people, but they came to shul here for Yontif, because of course you have to go somewhere for high holidays. And they met Judy, luck of luck, and to find a new best friend, to find a new person that you want to share time with is really beautiful. So I'm glad. Miriam, you ever want to share something?
Well, she said to me that we had a shidduch.
We had a shidduch. It was this deep connection. Like there's something deeper in there. So how beautiful that you find somebody, a similar history of Israel, and a similar life now, and how beautiful.
She left Israel when she was 12 and a half. 12? And I was in Israel when I left 13 and a half. Not much of a difference.
Right.
And her background and my background is Czechoslovakia.
Both Czechoslovakian, you left Israel around the same age. Just pretty incredible. And isn't it fun to think, you don't have to meet your best friend when you're in second grade. You can meet somebody who you share a connection with, who you haven't met before until later on. That's wonderful. Myra, did you have something you wanted to share? Marco has something you want to share. You made a paper airplanes. It's one of the nice things about Sukkot is there's so many decorations, and you can just spend the week making new things to hang in your sukkah. And if you are like us, you never take those things down, because why? The next Sukkot is only like a year away, and so you can leave it up there for next Sukkot. That's wonderful. Alyssa, it was your birthday yesterday. Happy 13? Happy 13th birthday yesterday. You need something to celebrate. Did you do anything nice for it, or just went out to dinner, and now you're going to come here and help us lead services tonight? That's pretty good. I'll take that as a win. Kathy. Jesse lost 2 teeth in the last 3 days. Yeah, that's serious. Yeah. Do you want help finding them? Don't ask Marco about the tooth fairy, okay? We're all good. We're all good. Yeah, we'll talk about it another time. Anne. Anne is on countdown until she retires. 29. Do you have like a strip like you're like in first grade? You got to crossed it out as you go along. Right, and but how wonderful. To know that you still make an impact is really wonderful. If you don't know, Anne works with Many Mansions, this incredible organization that helps people who need housing find affordable housing in the communities, and offers the kids not only access to schools but tutoring and just all the different parts of it. And it's really incredible. And the people who the organization helps, it doesn't stand out that they're being helped by this organization. They're just part of the community. And it's amazing what they're doing. Anybody? They can't afford to lose her, and we're so grateful that she'll be becoming one of our key volunteers as soon as she's done. We haven't told her yet. Your coworkers about you queued up to volunteer there and volunteer here. Well, you'll be good. Yeah, sure. Action committee here. Other highlights. Les. Yes, it's funny how this happens. My mother-in-law has been a member of the synagogue, we'll call it Hamakom, and I'm here, and the Halpert's son-in-law is the rabbi at Hamakom, and their members here, and so we kind of trade places once in a while. And Rabbi David got to lead his first Kol Nidre service this past week. It's strange to think that Kol Nidre and Yom Kippur were just a few days ago. For me, it feels like could have been a couple weeks. But how nice. So mazel tov to you and to the whole family. Anybody else? A highlight? Ronnie. It was beautiful to be, thank you, Ronnie. It was lovely to be here, to have Cantor Kenny and Benny and Rachel and Mariano and Alan and Ben, and I felt like it felt good. I don't know if I would have thought of it if you didn't say it, but at the end of Yom Kippur, we are exhausted, we are hungry, we are thirsty. The emotions are all just heightened, and we're just ready to be done, and it's 7:22, and it's almost time to just get out of here and eat a bagel that, thank God, Men's Club and everybody provides for us. And then to see like 100 kids wearing white, walking down the aisle, carrying their light sticks, and I'm just now sobbing up here on the bima, trying to give a blessing to these kids. They're little beautiful moments mixed in there. Last shofar blowing, where Gideon and Ben get up there and just somehow still have energy. Yeah, quite a deep breath. It was really amazing. So for all of these things, maybe there's more. For all of these things, we say a bracha, we say a blessing. That blessing ends ha-tov v'ha-meitiv. So you can say it with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam ha-tov v'ha-meitiv. Thank you, God, for the fact that there are good things in our lives. Even in difficult weeks, there are still things to celebrate. There's still things to look forward to, and we appreciate that. If you're able, please rise. Unless you want to join us up here, we're going to go into the words of Baruch Hu. We're on page 39a for the words of Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvara. Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvara Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
Uma'avir yom umei v'layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla. Adonai tiva'ot shemo el hai v'kayom tamidim lo alenu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch
Shemo.
Hama'avir
Ha'ariv.
Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen. Page 40, we'll sing together Ahavat Olam.
Avat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shachveinu u'v'kumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu Ve'orech yameinu Uvahem nehegei yamam balayla.
Ve'ahavata al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai,
Uvarok Shema.
Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Amen.
We're on page 41.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Eloheicha, b'chol levavcha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayud dvarim ha'eleh. Asher Anohim Metzavecha Hayom Alevavecha Veshinantam Levanecha V'dibarta bam V'shivtecha B'veitecha Uvletecha Vadere Uvshavtecha Uvkumecha Ukshartam leot oyadeha vehayu letotafot in eneha uktavtam almezuzo beteha uvishareha. Adonai Eloheham Emet.
We'll come back together towards the top of page 44.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Let me hear you singing with me. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la la ya la la la. Mi chamocha boilim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tilot osef elem, osef elem. Malchutecha ra'u v'necham, okeyam lifnei Moshe. Malchutecha ra'u v'necham, bokeyam lifnei Moshe. Ze Eli, anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch, leolam, leolam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. V'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, ugolo me'achazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai. Ga'al Yisrael, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, amen.
On page 45, Hashki Venu is a prayer asking us for peace within ourselves so we can go to bed tonight with none of the anxiety and none of the worries, none of the fear, especially Sukkot when we're supposed to be I've never done it before. We're supposed to be sleeping outside amongst all of nature and to think of all the anxiety this week. I promise, this week we'll do it. But to think of what it means to be outside and without fear, to allow us to go to sleep tonight, because tomorrow we need to be stronger. And in this prayer it says, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. God spread over us a sukkah of peace, a canopy of peace, so we feel like we can bring more peace into the world. Page 45, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
Oy.
Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha v'taknenu beitza tova milfanecha. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeitenu.
Not right now, he doesn't.
Uvoenu.
So that's antibiotics.
Lechaim u'shalom. Me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen.
If you're able, we rise. Page 46, we announce that this is Shabbat with the words of Vishamron. Right after that, we're going to quote the Torah portion by announcing it's also a special festival.
V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lahasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lahasot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וידבר משה אל מועדי אדוני אל בני ישראל.
יקדע ויקדע שמי רבה,
אמן.
בעלמא דברה קירותי וימלי מלכותי,
בהיכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב,
ואמרו
אמן. יהי
שמי רבה מבורך,
לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך.
יפרע וישתבח, ויפר וירמה ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי דקודשא רהו. לאלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דעה מאירם בעלמא, ואמרו אמן.
Turn forward now to page 306. In every one of our services, we feed you all of these words and all these melodies and all these things that you're supposed to say because we've been saying them for thousands of years or hundreds of years at least. And now we get a moment of personal quiet, of personal meditation. There are words in here in case you're not sure what to say. Otherwise, just take a moment. Feel connected. Starting on page 306, there's words for the holiday and Shabbat in there. When you're finished, you may be seated. you're still davening, please take your time. There's a small repetition of parts of the Amidah on page 53.
ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, קונה שמיים וארץ. מגן אבות בדברו, מחיי מתים במאמרו, האל הקדוש שאין כמוהו, המניח לעמו ביום שבת קדשו, כי בם רצה להניח להם, כי בם רצה להניח להם, לפניו נעבוד ביראה ופחד, ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיד, מעין הברכות. אל ההודעות אדון השלום, מקדש השבת ומברך שביעי, ומניח בקדושה מעל דושני עונג, זכר למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. לי לי ילה לי ילה לה 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 לי לי לה 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 ילה לה 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 ילה לה 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 ילה לה לה לה, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך, וינוחו וישראל מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. On the inside back cover of our Siddur, most of the Siddurim in the room, I can't promise it's all of them, the words of Mi Shaberach, a prayer of healing. We'll sing the first half. I'll read the list of names that I have for people who could use healing, and we'll conclude the song. If you have names of people who should be added to our list, please let us know.
Mi Shaberach Avoteinu מקור הברכה לאמותינו, way, the source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Menucha bat Necha, Shlomo ben Rivka, Rivka bat Sarah, Yonatan Reuven ben Rivka, Lazer ben Chava, Yaakov ben Moshe, Yehudit Blum bat Sarah, Lavi Aryeh ben Chana, Rivka bat Sarah, Harav Chaim, Yaakov ben Pesha, Chava, Freda bat Meir Noga, Naphtali ben Devora, Shendel Pesha bat Razel, Pizza, Razel bat Sippe, Eleanor bat Esther, Rachel bat Chava, Naomi bat Tova, Ilan ben Rachel, Meir ben Fega, Sarah Dora bat Rivka, Yitzchak Shmuel ben Alice, Meir Yaakov bat Gitabrina, Shoshana bat Yehudit, Yehudit bat Sarah, Elia ben Mordechai, Yosef ben Devorah, Tzipora bat Leah, Moshe ben Yehudit, Ashabela bat Hesatessa, Danya bat Rivka, Gavriela Irit bat Leah, David ben Leah, Elisheva bat Shoshana, Jay Goldstein, Label Chaim ben Barana, Eliyahu ben Rivka, Shirley Ganstwig, Yonash Meryahu ben Devorah, Shani ben Rachel, Chana Leah bat Alice, Freda Leah bat Esther Gittel, Eileen Malice, Miriam Garfield, Chaya bat Chaike Shendel, Stephen Ross, Andy Raymond, Jackie Raymond, Katrinka Schiffman, Barry Perkin, Jeff Lewis, Gary Engler, Carl Weiss, Diana Baffa-Brill, Ron Kadish, John Ogle, Shirley Rutkovitz, Al Sanderson, Colton James Pachenik, Samuel Garcia, Asa Luo, Andrew Jennings, Judy Lukov, David Gould, Mel Rigdon, Greg Watson, Rabbi Alana Grinblatt, Michal Lirit Bat Sorachana, Gabriel Lev Ben Yechiela Sharon, Gabriela Bat Sarah.
Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Page 54, Kaddish Shalem.
Yitkadav yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yomad dibrachi v'tei v'amlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'agalav yizman karivim ru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam olam me'omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudusha Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushpechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yoma v'imru.
Amen.
Titkabal tzloton u'vaoton dechol Yisrael, kadama v'hom v'ishmaya v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemai v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
If you're able, please rise. Aleinu's on page 56.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegeye haratzot, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ועושה הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים, hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efezulato, kakatu bitorato, ve'adata hayom ve'hashevota, elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, bashamayim mima'al, ve'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimlach le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yehyeh Adonai echad, U'shemo echad.
You may be seated. Just to note, if you like that last line of Aleinu, it'll be in tomorrow morning's Haftarah. You can be seated for a moment. The words from Zechariah at the bottom of Aleinu are from tomorrow morning's Haftarah. So we'll be learning those, hearing those tomorrow morning. A few years ago, I was working with a wonderful clergy member who liked to ask parents of 12-year-olds leading up to B'nai Mitzvah, sitting in a sukkah, how is your child like a sukkah? What makes it was just an open-ended question. And the parents would raise their hands and say, like the sukkah, my child is susceptible to all sorts of things. Like, think of all the different ways that it feels like the sukkah is a little bit flimsy. The sukkah is penetrable. The sukkah has weather coming through it. The sukkah can fall apart pretty easily. All of these things, these ways that our kids are like Sukkot. And the lesson was really a beautiful one to have, first of all, to have this analogy and what a sukkah can be and who our children are. And I thought the follow-up question seems to be, how are you as an adult not a sukkah? Well, I am fully formed. I have my walls that are perfect. I am strong and impenetrable. Something about us as adults, we know what's going on in the world, and we have solid walls. We are not like a sukkah because we are here where there's AC and there's windows and there's drywall and there's beams and all the things that we are as strong adults. And a sukkah can fall apart easily. But then you watch the news today. What's happening in New York today is there's such strong rains and winds that apartments are ruined, that subway stops are ruined, that schools are flooded. You watch the news it's heartbreaking to watch these videos of Park Slope, in the middle of Brooklyn. The streets are flooded up to the first windows of cars are trying to drive through it. And seeing these images is heartbreaking. It's New York, but then again, we see these images a lot. During hurricane season, especially right now in Florida and in Georgia and in South Carolina and in this area, what we saw a few months ago here with Hurricane Hillary coming through and what it did to parts of Mexico and California and Nevada. And then you see what's happening. Pick a country, pick a place in the world. There's a tornado, an earthquake, a hurricane, a coup, something going on. We realize that these buildings that are built out of masonry, that have stood sometimes for centuries, all it takes is that God forbid. And that thing that was a sturdy place is now as worthless, as worthwhile as a sukkah. The sukkah reminds us that all of us, all of our lives, all of the places that we live can have the look of sturdiness, but at some point, all of our sturdiness is just an illusion of safety. As I read the Mishaberach list here, I think of all of these people who a week ago, a month ago, a decade ago, were the sign of vitality, were the sign of strength, and now they need our prayers. They're people who could use our prayers because they thought that they were a sturdy house, but it turns out they're merely a sukkah. When we say the words of Hashki Venu, we ask God to spread over us a sukkah of peace. And you'd think, why not a castle of peace? A castle with moats and guards and stone. How come why not? It's not something that's a lot sturdier? And we know, because as you're an adult, you realize that everything is a sukkah. That as much as we think, oh, Men's Club did a lovely job putting up the sukkah. Some of the guys and some of the people in the community did a great job putting up the sukkah. And in a week, it'll come down. And how hard we work to make this building or any building look perfect. That life is Sukkot. And we need once a week this reminder that life is Sukkot. And God willing, we never have to learn that. God willing, we never have to understand that a life, our lives, our homes, everything we know and are and hope to be is as sturdy as a sukkah. Except that somewhere inside we know, and so once a week we step outside of these hallowed, beautiful, sturdy walls and go into places made out of trellis where a wind knocks it over. Tomorrow morning we're debating, are we in the sukkah for services or in here for services? Because it might drizzle, it might rain, it might drizzle, it might just be a little bit misty. We're not sure, and how affected we are by what's happening in the world. And to know that we feel safe in here. We also have security guards outside just to make us feel more safe in here. And what it means to once a week, just for a week. So if we did it every day, it would be painful. Once a week, when the weather's still pretty good in this part of the world and also in Israel. Once a week, for 1 week a year, to sit outside and think of what it could be and how this is an illusion and in some ways that is the reality. I read the yard site list for all of our services and I think of all these people who we loved so deeply, who we thought of as the rock in our lives. We thought of as the anchor and somebody to carry us through, whatever the analogy is. And we know that life is permeable. Life is susceptible. And life is sometimes not what we thought it would be, because sometimes that strong wind comes through and just knocks us over. This week, leading into Sukkot, we note the yard sites in our community of Ray Fink, Lewis Miller, Hilda Rabinowitz, Ben Rutberg, Harry Waters, Gussie Haberman, Jeffrey Joseph, George Levitt, Vanya Orlowski, Marge Rapps Sherman, Patricia Sobel, Irving Gill, Molly Jokowitz, Lottie Schulman, Rosalind Tanner, Delvira Gartler, Rose Katz, Ruth Lazarus, Arlene Levinson, Harriet Weiss Oberman, Julia Deutsch, Herbert Friedlander, Morris Hyman, Harold Kolber, Sarah Guler, Erwin Kreisberg, Rita K. Lazinski, Sharif Maradian, Felicitas Saez, Edwin Shearer, Michael Silverstein, William Howard Spiro, Robert Assail, Marshall Bernstein, Philip Cohen, Alfred Morris, Abram Avramel Perel, Abraham Stein, Israel Weinstein, Gloria Cohen, Leonard Goodman, Abraham Levy, Martha Smith, Thelma Smith, Casper Unger. So know that we're in a period of shloshim, these first fresh days of mourning for Paul Fireman and Michael Lutzker. May their memories be a blessing to those who knew them, to those who knew them as sturdy structures, to those who trusted them with everything that there was their life, and learned that time passes and those strong winds and those strong fires, those strong beasts and the strong swords come through, and life is just merely a sukkah. Hopefully a Sukkat Shalom, a sukkah of peace. If you're in a period of mourning or you're observing a yard site, you're welcome to rise. You can join with us in these words of Kaddish on page 58. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shamei rabbah, ve'alma divara kirutei ve'amlich malchutei, ve'chayechon uvyomechon uvechaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach Leolam Ulalmei Olmaya Yit Barach V'Yish Tabach V'Yit Pa'ar V'Yit Ramam V'Yit Naseh V'Yit Hadar V'Yit Ale V'Yit Halal Shemei Dekudasha Brichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata Da'amiran Be'alma V'Imru Amen Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. May their memories be a blessing. May the one who makes peace in heaven bring peace to us here on earth. Thanks for joining us tonight, whether it was for dinner and services or just services. I thought services would be shorter, but I talked longer than I expected. After services, we'll have a bite to eat. You can grab a cookie either in Remembrance Hall right out here, or if you're okay with the freezing cold 62-degree temperatures, you can go back outside and eat in the sukkah. If you ever need to be in a sukkah this week, you're supposed to eat all of your meals in a sukkah. If you don't have one at home, come here. Come here and sit in our sukkah, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If weather permits, tomorrow morning and Sunday morning we'll be in the sukkah for services starting at 9:30. We'll have extra lulav and etrog for Sunday if you want to help shake lulav and etrog. No lulav and etrog tomorrow because on Shabbat, despite what the Mishnah says, on Shabbat we don't shake lulav and etrog. If you have questions on that, find Benny, find me, find Cantor Kenny. And then next weekend we have Friday night is similar to this, and Saturday morning and Saturday night next week, we'll have Little Calf Creamery ice cream. We'll have 3 creative flavors here as we celebrate. I think we're having, I'm going to get them wrong, but something like Dead Sea Salt Caramel.
Ooh.
And Berry Pri Hagafen.
No. Oh, please.
And
Oh, no.
there's another good one.
Chocolate.
The Land of Milk and Cookies.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's good. So it'll be good. And one of them is non-dairy and all the different things. It'll be delicious. So you can join us Saturday night. The time is changing, so make sure you see the emails. For ice cream, followed by Simchat Torah, which is dancing with the Torahs and changing their mantles and opening a Torah all the way so we can look at the entire Torah. We'll have hopefully the 7th graders with us so we can show them where her bat mitzvah is and where his bat mitzvah. We can kind of like look now at the whole Torah. And if you know where yours was, and you want to come to us and be like, Rabbi, mine was Parshat Pinchas 50 years ago. We'll find Parshat Pinchas for you, and you can take a look and you can practice it so that Benny can ask you to read Torah in a couple of months. And then, so all the things coming up. What was that? Yeah, we'll show you where it was. If you want to know where yours was or your kids' was or you have one, I always wanted to see, and we'll show you where the parting of the sea is. You can see that where the 10 Commandments are.
10 Commandments.
It's really neat to see where these fall into the whole script. Aside from that, the men's club is hosting Scotch, steak, and Talmud in the sukkah. You don't have to be part of men's club, but you don't have to be a man to join us on Tuesday night for that. Just bring your own thing to be grilled. It has to be kosher. So whether it's a T-bone or a salmon or a piece of tofu, come and join us, or just bring some scotch to have with us. Learn some Talmud together. There's so many events during Sukkot and after Sukkot. Lori Gottlieb is coming on November 12th, who's a treasure. She wrote the book, You Should Talk to Someone, about the importance of therapy, of finding a therapist. She has an incredible story, a life story. So she'll be here on November 12th for that. You can check out her book, not from the local library because it's already been checked out by somebody else. But I'm sure there's podcasts and audiobooks and things like that. Any other big announcements to make for tonight? Joyce, am I missing anything? Yeah, I don't know. No, we're good. Okay. What?
Sounds like you got the whole thing.
Got a lot of things in there.
The whole thing.
But I'm glad to celebrate with you. Thank you, Mariano. Thank you, Cantor Kenny. We're going to turn to page 211. Is that right?
Sure.
Sure. Page 211 for the words of Adon Olam. And then for those who want to stick around, we'll say the brachot in the sukkah so that we can officially dine in there. Page 211.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa v'cheptzo kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado imloch nora v'hu haya v'hu oved והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשיל לו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמצרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי בצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא ביעדו אף כדרוכי והייתי שם בעירה באמרוכי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא אירה.
Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. The question for as you're driving home tonight to turn to you can stand up and get ready. As you're driving home, turn to your loved one and say, if you could invite one biblical character into your sukkah, to have dinner with them, to have a drink with them, who would you invite? And why? All right. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom.